Today's episode of the show, we are joined by a photographer and a videographer from... In the episode, Polly also shares the importance of a failure. In the episode, Polly shares with us... Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Creators Connect series. My name is Luca, but you can call me that camera guy. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your love and support. I truly appreciate it. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing if you like this video. On today's episode of the show, we are joined by a photographer slash a videographer slash travel enthusiast slash food enthusiast slash YouTuber slash awesome human being. Her name is Polly and she's based out of Latvia. In the episode, Polly answers the $1 million question and tells us how she's able to strike a balance between her creative life and her personal life. Polly also highlights the importance of failure in her creative journey. So just sit back, relax, let's connect with Polly. Issues with so many different people, them not understanding what I need from them, and it's been a lot in the last couple of days with the interviews I've had. This has been the smoothest, so thank you so much for making it so much easier.
Not a problem at all. Yeah, well, we've done podcasts in the past, so yeah, we know what sort of pain kind of goes into the whole thing. And if you haven't done it before, I understand why people kind of might find it confusing. But hey, we're going. So yeah, I'm all cool. Have my coffee, have my water, I'm good to go.
Lovely. So if you're recording, we can jump right into it.
Yeah, recording already. Yeah, awesome.
Sweet. Okay, so who is Polly? If you were to describe yourself as an individual, as a creative, if you're presenting yourself to someone who's meeting you for the first time, how would you explain what you do and the career that you've paved out for yourself?
Right, okay. So I have kind of been wearing a lot of different hats, but if I was to summarize kind of very shortly who I am a YouTuber, I'm also a photographer, and I'm a traveler. And I also create content for different brands, and I work with different brands together to create kind of their social media campaigns. That's at least kind of what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And the whole kind of content creation career has been happening now for about 6 to 7 years. Gosh, that's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And I mean, so many questions stem out of that. First and foremost, I'm shocked that you didn't mention that you love food, because a ton of what your content has to do a lot with food.
True.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the passion for food and why you've chosen to take a keen interest in taking photos of food and speaking about that?
Totally, absolutely. Thanks. A great question, actually. So when I was 19 years old, I moved from Estonia, where I'm originally from, to England, and I was studying. And when I was studying, obviously, I tried to support myself by working in different kind of coffee shops and restaurants and cantinas and bars. And I think like seeing chefs creating amazing food was kind of a big wow moment for me, because I kind of haven't experienced that back in Estonia. And I just kind of like, throughout the 3 years at uni, I just constantly found myself being next to the chefs, asking like the silly, stupid, annoying questions, like, why are you doing this? And why are you putting this? And why are you doing this and this and this and that? And super annoying, but eventually I think that's where the love towards food came from. And when it came to the content, like when it came to the question, what sort of content I would like to produce, kind of food was a no-brainer. It was just like, that's what I want to take pictures of. I like it. I like eating it. I like how it looks. I like the story behind it. So I just wanted to capture that. So yeah.
I mean, I love food as well. I'm a big food person. So I think it was super exciting for me to go through your page, to go through your content and see how invested you are in food and everything you do with it. It's pretty cool as well. But you've just come from mentioning that you moved from Estonia to study. Did you study anything remotely related to what you're doing right now?
No. Absolutely not. I actually studied, laugh or not, adventure tourism management. So when so my love towards traveling literally comes from there. We had this amazing course where we were studying like the theory of tourism and how to set up a tourism company and sustainability aspect of it. But then the big practical stuff where we were going to Alps in Europe to do snowboarding. Don't laugh. We traveled, I know, we traveled across UK doing some like mountaineering and zip lining and orienteering, that kind of stuff. And then at the very end of this course, we had an expedition, which I was leading. So it was 5 girls. Basically, like we had 25 people on the course, and every single one of us had to kind of form a group and decide what they're going to be doing as the end kind of year stuff. And we decided to go to Vietnam, travel from north to south. And that was kind of like the whole idea behind that expedition was to create a photographic exhibition of American Vietnamese war sites that have not been commodified yet. Sounds super complicated, but actually isn't.
Yeah.
So basically, we just kind of traveled from north to south, taking loads of pictures of basically, you know, those horrible kind of things that happened when the American Vietnamese War was happening. But the one thing that we didn't realize is that when war has ended, Vietnamese people got rid of everything that reminded them of the war. So we struggled actually to find anything really remotely to take any images. So we kind of ended up going to museums and going to like those caves where they were hiding during the war, and kind of visiting the places that are already kind of, you know, made for people to come and have a look. So it's not like they haven't been commodified yet, they have been. But regardless of the whole thing, we spent an amazing 3.5 weeks of traveling, you know, meeting amazing, awesome people. The one thing that I want to say was my first time when I actually left Europe. Like, honestly, I do remember very vividly to this point when I was sitting down on the plane and I was like, after 16 hours, I have no idea where I'm going to go. You know, like I have no idea where this plane is going to land, what I'm going to see, what sort of people are going to be there, what sort of food is going to be there, you know, like all that kind of stuff. And I was so excited, was so super nervous as well, because it was also like, you know, the uni project. We had like, our folder was super, super thick where we had to, you know, create like an aim of what's going to happen, how we're going to achieve that aim, you know, all the risk assessment, all that stuff, you know. And I think out of the whole course, we had like 6 different groups who were traveling across the world. And usually the university teacher, one of the lecturers would come and visit one of the groups, kind of like checking out how we're doing, if everything is all right. And also kind of, I think it's a mini vacation for them because uni was paying for that. And the teacher then decided to come to our expedition, which I kind of then said, yay, because out of all of the places he could have went to, and out of, you know, he decided to come and join us. So I felt kind of really excited about that. So,
That's actually, sorry, you can speak.
No, you go.
No, I was actually going to ask that it's super cool that what you're doing now isn't remotely related, but is there any link between what you studied and what you are doing in terms of creating right now?
I'll tell you a funny story. Like, honestly, 6 years ago, I was useless with cameras. Like, I was really bad. Like,
I don't believe it. I really do not believe it.
No, it's true. You know how people go like, oh, you know, my parents gave me a camera and the rest is history. No.
Yes.
No. Like, my grandparents.
That wasn't the case.
My grandparents, when I was like 12 years old, gave me like this cheap Kodak film camera. Used it twice. Tossed it away. Nothing happened. Like, honestly, like, and I remember really well, like 6 years ago, me and my best friend went to Japan, just kind of like, you know, we had super cheap tickets and I wanted to visit Japan for the longest time ever. So I was like, you know what, let's go. So we went and I had my super, super old secondhand DSLR camera with me, which I don't even know why I bought it. I think all my friends were buying one and I was like, you know, I want to buy one as well.
I want to get one too.
Exactly. So I was like, you know, kind of like dipping my fingers to see what's going on. Really, nothing was happening. And we were in Japan, so it's a sakura, so it's a cherry blooming season, super beautiful. And I'm trying to take pictures with my DSLR camera and my mate is trying to explain to me how exposure works. And I couldn't understand a word that she was saying. And honestly, 3 days into our trip, after my unsuccessful kind of, you know, I don't know, experience with the DSLR camera, I just kind of tossed it in the bag and I was taking pictures with mobile phone camera. I was that bad. Like, genuinely. I was scared of them. I didn't know how to use them. I was really bad. So Yeah, that's kind of where I was 6 years ago. So the message to everyone, if you think that you're not capable of working camera out, you are. Look at me, you can do the same.
I mean, it's crazy how it starts though. With it's not just the cameras. I mean, it's the editing software as well. When you open Adobe Premiere Pro for the first time and Lightroom and all these apps, and you look at how intense they are. I mean, I can definitely relate to you. It was very intimidating and very scary to start to learn how to use cameras, to start to learn how to edit and things like that.
Totally.
But how did you sort of, maneuver through and sort of sum up the courage to pick up a camera again and, get to the point where you are now?
Okay.
What are some of the key concepts that you, hold on to and that you would tell someone, do this and you definitely figure it out?
Right. It's a funny thing. I don't want to sound like a drama queen or anything like that, but I do remember there was a lot of times where I would go out and shoot and I just wanted to cry. Like things would not work out and I would be scared to take pictures. I would be feeling doubtful to take pictures. And it just only later on, now analyzing, looking back at the whole thing and just thinking I just put so much pressure on myself that is just absolutely unnecessary. There's no reason for that. And of course, the whole kind of experience with the camera in my hand became kind of a torture in a sense. So kind of, the only thing is just get out there and take pictures. Because when I started taking pictures was literally the era when, Peter McKinnon started doing YouTube channel.
Yeah,
and Chris House and Jesse Driftwood, all those awesome people. And I looked at them and I was like, I have to push. There is no
I want to be like that someday.
Yeah, exactly. I can either sit here and watch their amazing photography and feel sorry for myself, or grab the camera and go out and shoot. And eventually, of course, you are, the biggest critic of your work, it's yourself, isn't it? I'm sure you kind of feel the same. But then, you take pictures and then people go like, oh, wow, did you do them? And I was like, oh, yeah, I did that.
I did.
And they're like, no, they're great. And you're like, oh, really? And then you kind of have that self-belief slowly returning back. And eventually, it just stays and you just become... you just become a photographer, I guess, You
just become a photographer.
Yeah, exactly. I always kind of envied people who kind of, felt like photography is a second nature for them. But at the same time, looking back at the whole 6 years, whatever happened, the wole progression of photography, I wouldn't want it to be any other way. It's just all those tears and all those come on, effort times. They're part of the journey, they're part of me, and they make me a photographer who I am today. So I would usually say, if it doesn't work out first, second, and third time, then there is fourth, fifth, and the sixth time. Well, when it will work out. So just you have to keep pushing, man.
That is so true. It's so profound. It's a question I've asked a lot of people who've been on my show before. It's that. Would you do things differently if you had the chance? And I mean, you clearly said, no, I wouldn't. Every tear that you cried, every, mistake that you made, every failure that you had was sort of important to getting you to where you are now. Which ties into the next question. You did a video recently called, I'm forgetting what it's called, but you tried to post 5 videos in a week and you sort of failed at it. I think the video was called Failure. Yes. Yeah, it was. The video was titled Failure. But you were basically talking about the importance of failure and sort of embracing the concept of failure. And is that something that you've always had in you, or it's something that you've sort of grown to understand and embrace the more you grew? And how important is failure? How important has failure been in your career this far?
Right, okay. So it's a great question. And I do remember that video. Oh, man.
It was a good video. It was a very good video.
Oh, bless. Thank you. I was really desperately trying to get Casey, Casey Mojon. Love Casey. And I could watch him forever. Well, I think coming back a little bit, so I have a longer story with the YouTube and in general. I started YouTube 4 years ago. That was my very first experience at doing YouTube, which again, kind of similar to photography, didn't really go well at the beginning. I think, again, the expectations were higher than than they should have been. And the whole process of filming, writing the script, being in front of the camera, trying to kind of be interesting in front of the camera was a bit too much for me. And honestly,
it's hard.
it really is hard. And people are like, I'm just going to flip a camera on and just see a couple of things. I'm like, yeah, I dare you to do that.
It's difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah. Without sounding it too condescending or whatever else not, like it's not really that easy. So after about 4 videos, I completely collapsed. It was just too much. And I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. So now fast forward to 2020. I kind of was like, let's give it another shot. Kind of felt appropriate with everything was happening in the world at this point. I was like, I just want to kind of share my thoughts and my things on camera because, as a creator, I have grown now. I think I have more things to offer and more things to say.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, I was like, instead of going like all hand, like, guns blazing, like all like, yeah, I'm just going to like nail it. I was like, let's try to do 5 videos and see how we feel. Of course, I was like, let's do 5 videos in 5 days. Like, how ridiculous is that?
That's a lot of work.
Totally. That is a lot of work. But you're like, yeah, we're going to make it happen. There's plenty of coffee. And come on, like, we can do it. So, yeah, of course, after 2.5 videos, I was like, it's not really working out. And I had to really kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out why is it not happening for me or what are my kind of obstacles. And then I kind of like felt like sharing the whole failure thing because in a sense, yes, I failed. I didn't manage to do 5 videos in 5 days. But then I think my perception of failure at the beginning of that project was like, it's bad. It should never happen to one. And you should kind of steer away from that from as far as possible. Whoa, no, bad thing. Seriously, don't even touch it. But I think when I made that video about failure, I think something clicked in my head and I was like, what, it's just a part of the process and you have to be okay with that being a part of the process. And it kind of actually at the beginning stemmed from just a small caption for my Instagram. And I was like, why shouldn't I make a video out of it and post it on my YouTube channel as a reminder that that was a part of my journey, you see? And this is what happened. It's a part of my journey. It's on my YouTube channel, and every now and again I go and watch it and I'm like, yeah, this is what's up.
It's a very encouraging video, and I love what you have to say in it. And I think it's the concept of taking each step, each failure as a process, as a stepping stone to get you to where you finally need to be. Looking at it more as a lesson more than anything else. And it's for a lot of people a lesson that other people don't get the privilege to go through. So I think when you take a step back and you look at it with a wider lens and a much wider perspective, you realize, I guess, how fortunate you are to have experienced it and learned it and maybe probably get to teach it to other people as well, which you've done with your YouTube channel, which is crazy. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that you are vulnerable with, those kinds of things. Like you're saying, for a lot of people, it's like failure is bad and no one should know that I ever failed. No one should know I ever tried and didn't succeed. But you're sort of taking a different twist to it. And you're like, maybe people can learn from this. And for sure, I know I've learned. And I know a lot of other people who watch the videos have definitely learned from it as well. So I think speaking for a lot of people, we appreciate your vulnerability and your ability to open yourself up deeply.
It's also that you do. First of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's also that relatability aspect, isn't it? It's I wish, in a sense, that Peter McKinnon kind of would have shared things like that, because I'm sure things at the very beginning were not all, groovy for him either. I think that perhaps may have been a little bit more human.
Yeah,
he's a cool dude and I love him and I watch him, and I watch all his videos. But yeah, it's but again, it's my personal opinion. It doesn't mean that every single person should be doing the same thing as I'm doing. Absolutely not. But listen, if that has helped anyone, fantastic. But I think when it comes to YouTube, I'm of a sense now that if it helps me, that's what's going to drive it. It's no longer what I expect the audience to see. In a sense, it might sound a little bit harsh, but there is so much time goes into producing those videos. Like, honestly, some of them do take 5 to 6 days. Yeah. And if I would do something that the audience would dictate, it's just not, at some point I will break again, so I have to be sure inside that whatever drives me is whatever drives me, like Polly, not somebody else. And be a bit, truthful and, it has to come from within, definitely.
Yeah, that's key. It's a topic that keeps coming up and with a lot of people that I speak to. It's the ability to separate what the audience demands and what makes you happy. Because more often than not, it's very easy to get drifted and start producing content to please people, and you're not fulfilled. So when you release content and you're smiling and you're happy and people are enjoying it, behind the scenes you're sad and depressed and stressed out because you're not enjoying what you're actually doing. So I appreciate that resolve and the courage to say, you know what, I want to make content that makes me happy, content that I can be proud of, and content that fulfills me. And hopefully people can jump onto that bandwagon and find that content interesting as well, which is a nice way to look at it and a nice way to do it. And I appreciate that a lot.
Thanks.
But there's a lot of different things, and I mean you've mentioned and tapped into a little bit of them when you've been speaking. But there's a lot of different things that stop us and hinder us from growing, or hurdles, really high hurdles that we have to go over in our creative journeys. What has been the biggest one for you internally, personally, and externally as an environment and the people around you? Two of the hardest things that you've had to face and endure.
Well, there has been a lot, let's be honest.
Oh,
the thing
there's definitely a lot.
Yeah. And before I'm gonna go and answer this question, I think the one thing that I would say, YouTube has been the biggest kind of learning curve and also the educator in my life. I probably learned in the last year more about myself, who I am as a creator, and what I want to do, that all those 5 years before that. So in
that's
a sense,
crazy.
It's crazy. Because, again, you have to sit down with yourself and really think what you want to achieve from the channel, what sort of content you want to put out there. And those are not like simple surface level questions.
Nope,
they're super kind of deep questions,
Yeah.
And then, and then you have an influence of your friends and your parents, and then some of them will be supportive. Some of them will look at it and be like, what are you actually doing? That kind of stuff. So, but coming back to the question, I think patience. We have to understand one thing: anything that is worth of doing requires patience. And I'm extremely impatient person. I'm kind of a person who, if the things are not working out in the first 5 seconds, I'm out of the building. So, that kind of stuff.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So physically had to put a timer on things and be like, no, you're sitting here for the next 90 minutes trying to figure it out. You're not allowed to leave this table or leave this desk or anything. You have to do things. So that's kind of, what I've learned. I haven't even learned, to be honest. Who am I like? Patience is one of those things that one day you have it, the next day it's gone,
It definitely fluctuates depending with the situation.
Oh, 100%, totally. So that's one of those things that I will constantly work on. But I think,
okay.
I think if I'm even 1% better than I was a year ago, I think that's already a win. So
that's a big win.
I know. And I think externally, I don't know, I think it's just finding people who will support what you're doing is extremely important.
That's
super important. And I'm not gonna lie, it's taken my mom a couple of years to get to the point where she was like, so okay, you're doing this now, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. So getting some, I think, relatives to be on your side is helpful. And also, if you can't get, your friends or people who are around you to support you, then, we have this amazing opportunity of internet where you can, reach out to the people and be like, oh, you're a creator, I'm a creator. Let's kind of try to, talk things out.
Grow together.
Exactly that. Because I'm blessed to have a partner who's also freelance and he's a videographer. So we're in this together. Whereas I can't even imagine a person who will be doing everything by himself or by herself.
By themselves.
It can be quite lonely, That's when you go on Instagram and you try to make those connections, try to speak to people because, what else is there? So, I don't know if that answers the question, but
no,
I guess,
it definitely it definitely answers the question. And it's especially in a world where a lot of content has been released at any given point in time. There's a lot of new creators coming up and a lot of content being released. It's hard to get into a space where people actually start noticing your work and recognizing it for what it is. So having, especially family, having people who are close to you who can support that is super important. And sometimes it can be a bit hard if you don't have people like that to support you and criticize your work. Constructive criticism and things like that. We get to look at your work and help you here and there. So being able to have that is truly a blessing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. To be honest, couldn't agree more with that. Because people are usually really nice and lovely, and they're like, "Yeah, you're doing fine," but like finding that person who will actually tell the truth in your face, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
seriously."
But then I think that's appreciated and needed for a lot of creators, especially when you're starting out.
But I think it's taken me a couple of years before I actually reached out to people, and I was like, can you be very, truthful about my work? Because I think before I wasn't quite ready for the things that are going to come my way. Yeah. So, and even then I was like, go and cry in a corner, and then like kind of next day, let's just roll them sleeves up and go back and do it again.
Yeah, I mean, but being in a space where you put yourself out there, use Instagram and YouTube, you really kind of need to have a tough skin. Because a lot of people are going to come out with a lot of different opinions about what you're doing,
Totally. But
I don't know if you've experienced that and how you deal with it.
Right. You said something very, crucial there. And this is something that I have in my head. I have a really good friend of mine who's a dancer. And she used to go back in London, and she used to go to so many different auditions. And, when we had this conversation with her about hearing no, she was like, Holly, no is just someone's opinion. It's like, you don't like strawberry ice cream, but is strawberry ice cream bad? Is it,
No.
It's just, you personally don't like strawberry ice cream, and it's just, it's not a value of who you are as a creator.
Wow.
Not at all. It's just someone's opinion of your work at that point was no. And this is kind of it. It's just an opinion. It's not, it's not who I am as a creator. And I think, that takes time to get it into your head. But, that kind of has helped me a lot. And also with Instagram, but YouTube, if you think about it, like the amount of people I have watching my videos, the percentage of people who will be actually vocal on comments is very, very small, like extremely small, if you think about it. And if I had to listen to every single person who says something about what about the other 90% who haven't said anything about my work?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So you can't just base your judgment or direction of your content just based on this 5% who have been vocal about your work. Does that make sense?
So it does make sense.
If you think about the numbers, you kind of go like, well, hold on a second. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. But there is another 90% who haven't said anything about it. So I have to figure that, I have to factor that into my content as well, I guess, So, but I'm not going to lie. Listen, of course, there are times when you're really down and you get like some really like another rejection from the brand, hey, it's just what it is. And the only thing with the years of working with different brands, the reality of the fact is that there is one poor marketing manager who gets bombarded by the emails and messages. You can't expect them to come back to you, to every single person who messages them. It's unrealistic. Yeah. And my kind of rule of thumb is that if I'm going to send out, let's say, 100 emails, I'm expecting only 5-10% of people coming back to me. So I know that's the reality. Or at least
and
my
you
reality.
have to
Maybe somebody's. Say it again.
You have to be realistic with it, which makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So if you send 3 emails and expecting all those 3 emails to come back to you, well, I'm sorry to bring it to you, but it's not going to happen. So
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You have to really knock on so many people's doors. And then, you know what they say, it's just one client who will believe in you, one client who will just, give a green light, and that will be enough to kind of propel your career or, take you to the next step. And then you just have to knock on enough doors to get that client. And that's it. It's just what it is, and I wish when I started this career path that there was somebody out there who would say that to me, Because I was like, I'm going to smash it. I'm going to be an amazing photographer in 4 months. And I'm going to I'm going to work with Nike and Reebok and everything is going to be beautiful in the world, you know? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's lovely. Ambitions. Oh,
I know.
that's lovely.
Well, I mean, I have to say, the beginner's ambition does take it quite far, you know, like...
It does. It drives you.
You
It really does drive you. It really does drive you. And then you realize this takes a while.
Like, even now, I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, did I actually email to these companies? Did I actually speak to their managers? As if, like, I am like, the thing, you know, and they will be blessed to work with me. Oh, God, no. Just...
I can definitely relate. I can definitely relate to that. You know,
oh God, yeah. So that's yeah.
I mean, the ability now then to be rejected from those situations and then pick yourself up and try again, even when none of it's worked. I think that's where a lot of content creators, entrepreneurs get separated, like the real ones from, you know, the ones who just thought they could do it. Because a lot of people start giving up now. And they're like, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And they literally pack it up and pursue something else. But it's the ones that continue going and continue trying. And those are the guys with 3, 4, 5-year storylines where they're like, yo, when I started, it wasn't like that, you know. And it's beautiful to hear their side of the story and be inspired by it. I think it's the same for you as well. Which is
well,
nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, for different creators, different things work. You know, personally for me, when after I think 2 or 3 years of like blogging and taking pictures and trying to really like hustle it out and get some clients in London, I kind of like reached a point where it was just too much energy. And what I've done, I then just got a part-time gig, the job that, you know, let's be honest, I didn't love, but I didn't hate. And it was very, you know, kind of static. Nothing exciting was happening there. So I just took that job and every single time, you know, I would have a bad day at work, that would fuel me to push my freelance, you know? And that actually had worked for me. I mean, in a sense, I would kind of chill out of my freelancing gigs at my work because I was just so tired of constantly running around and doing different things. So I would come to my work and I would just like do this routine, you know, pointless in a way, I'm sort of saying that job for 8 hours. And that will kind of spark, you know, give me, you know, the fuel to go and actually, you know, pursue my dreams and careers in freelancing. So in a sense, that kind of carrot and stick method, I don't know, like that kind of worked for me. Maybe for some people it will work too. So, you know, and that was that. You know.
That's actually pretty cool. But you also mentioned that, you know, you didn't actually go to school for what you're doing now. You studied travel and tourism. But what were the key concepts, the key principles that you had to live by and, you know, exercise to get you where you are? Because your YouTube is amazing, and I'll leave a link for people to go check it out. It's absolutely amazing. I think I binged through 50 to 75% of your work in the last 2 days on YouTube. And so it's the quality of your work and the way that you match beats and the slow motion and the B-roll. But it's also the script behind it as well. It's so well thought out and so well executed. How did you become so good?
Oh, God. Thank you so very much. I feel very honored for you spending so much time on the channel. Oh, bless.
It's addictive. I mean, good content sort of attracts itself. So I was hooked on the quality, and I was getting a lot of information out of it as well. So it was easy to sit through it and not realize how much I watched at the same time.
Well, that makes me really happy. Thank you. Well, I think, you know, there is a lot of that kind of content that is very fast produced content out there, and I'm not that kind of person who will consume that kind of content. I'm always the person who will consume like thought through content in a way. And, you know, my big like people who I used to look up to on YouTube are, you know, Lily Singh, because she's an amazing comedian, and she used to, you know, she's like so, you know, like one of those YouTube discoveries back like 7-8 years ago when YouTube was like in its baby steps in a way, you know. So she was amazing. She's an amazing comedian, and she was creating those scripts, and they were like with each kind of video, they would become better and better and better. And I was like, oh my God, it's one girl production doing such an amazing stuff from her closet, from her room. I was just drawn to it. And then Casey came in. It looks, if you look at his vlogs, whatever he's doing, it just looks so seamless and casual.
Yeah.
But then you start breaking down his scenes and you're like, just him exiting the room and entering the car has like 30 different angles. And you're like, whoa,
It's a lot.
It's a lot, you know what I mean? But that's what makes his thing stand out. Because also, he's just awesome. So I think looking up to creators like that, my content, I wanted to create a content who's like similar to this or would have similar values. So in a sense, spend a little bit more time, figure out what you're trying to say, turn on your camera and then say it out loud. That's kind of the process what I have in my head. And I'll tell you straight away, it works never. It's just,
but it's a start.
it's a lot of it's a lot of practice, and it's a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of things to figure out. But you have to know why you're doing that. You don't just turn on your camera and say something without really understanding why you're doing it. You know what I mean? It's just the principle behind it. It's like, do small, do little, but know why you're doing it. And I think that's kind of what was in my head. And lately there has been a lot of, people, motivational speakers that I'm kind of like, tuned into. I don't know, you're a podcaster. I'm sure you've heard of Joe Rogan.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I learn a lot. Like I get introduced to so many different and interesting people through his podcasts. Through his podcast, that I just go and check them out and what they're doing. They usually are like, Navy SEALs. And they have an amazing discipline. And, by just listening to what they're doing, what they have achieved, and how they're just normal, usual, typical blokes, but they have managed to get to that level of discipline that is just so envious. That's kind of, these are kind of people that I'm going to. Unfortunately, they're not necessarily photographers or YouTubers per se. They're just kind of people who have achieved a lot of stuff, who have put real energy into doing something. And that kind of, these are kind of people that I'm inspired to, I think kind of sums it up. I don't know.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And I can definitely relate to it as well. The ability to learn different things from different content creators. And I've seen it for myself as well. I don't always draw inspiration and learn from photographers or videographers or things like that. But I think it's just the concept of content creation, creating something, imagining something. But I mean the work that goes into it as well. There's so much to learn from those individuals and the perspectives they bring to the table as well. So I can definitely relate to what you're saying.
100%.
It makes sense a lot.
But podcasts for life, you know what I mean?
Podcasts for life. I love that.
I used to actually, what are you listening to when you're editing your pictures?
Me?
Yeah. Like, is it music or is it usually podcasts?
I'm actually listening to music.
Nice.
I listen to a lot of music. Are you listening to podcasts when you're editing?
It depends. I think, if I feel now it's going to be a good 3-hour sesh, then I'll probably put a podcast on, especially like a long podcast on, because at some point I think I love music as well. And I have actually on my YouTube channel, like my private playlists, which are actually just for editing only. And it kind of like, varies from artist to artist. But I feel like after like hour and a half, it just all becomes a big kind of white noise.
Yeah, it becomes
and
a
you're
lot.
like, what's going on? So kind of, it depends on the mood as well. It's for me, it's always interesting to know what are people doing when they're editing, because in a way, I used to think editing was this kind of like, difficult task, and you really need to concentrate.
Yeah,
but now it's just
it's a fun process. It can be a fun process.
But now it's almost like
a
second nature.
process.
So you like click-a-clack and you see, okay, maybe this, maybe that. Expose here and do this. So I'm like, okay, let's put a podcast on. Let's see what's happening. So, but I'm definitely that kind of person who needs something on the background, because if nothing is happening, then I'll go nuts. If that makes sense.
It's a bit crazy. But I mean, out of the podcasts that you do listen to when you're editing, which ones have you enjoyed the most? Which ones have you been listening to? Why specifically those ones?
Right. Okay. So it varies again, but then there is two that I listen to. One is Gastropod, which is about food. Yay!
Okay,
Two
not
girls.
surprised.
I know, two girls, American and English, and they kind of talk about history. Like, I talk about food through the lens of history, and there's so many awesome things that I never even thought that they're connected. So I kind of really enjoy listening to them. They're really cool. And of course, I know Joe, and then I have Alex Friedman. So I know him through Joe podcast as well. So he's a crazy Russian who lives in America. And he's oh gosh, I can't even say who he is, but he now hosts so many amazing like scientists and those motivational speakers, and those conversations are like 3 hours long, and they're like, I don't know, I always feel so pumped when I listen to them. So these are kind of like the three things that I'm listening right now. That's kind of it.
Yeah, definitely not surprised to see food on the list. Not shocked at all. But the next question is still onto your YouTube. What are your dreams? I know you 5,000 subscribers in a couple of videos into your YouTube journey, but what are your plans for this YouTube channel, and how big do you want it to grow, and how much more do you want to do with it?
Right. Okay. So, of course, I would like to be 1 million channel,
Yes,
as soon as. But I think realistically speaking, I'm definitely pouring a lot more energy into my YouTube channel. We had a little bit of a break, but then I think I kind of took the time off to realize where I'm going to take this channel further. Because, funnily enough, every probably not 2, 3, but like maybe 3-5 months, I sit down and I'm like, okay, am I happy with the content I'm producing? Am I like sick and tired of it? Or like, do I want to continue with this, or do you want to add something else to it? And long story short, of course, I would like that channel to get like to 10 to 50K in the next 6 months. But obviously that is just depending on a lot of different things. And one of them is my discipline for sure. But if we're not talking about numbers, then potentially getting consistent when releasing at least 1 video a week, ideally 2, and kind of keeping that consistency for the 6 months would be amazing, committing fully to the whole, YouTubing. But yeah, that's kind of one thing. The second thing, obviously, a lot of people know me on YouTube through photography, and I love photography, and it really is a big passion of mine. But I think, there is a bigger passion that I haven't really shared on YouTube, which is travel. And I have a couple of videos there and back, but I think now I will have a little bit more emphasis on storytelling and kind of people that I meet when I go to different places. I mean, understandable, like all in a lockdown right now, and we can't really go anywhere, but I can travel, within the Latvia, and there are amazing places to see. And if I can create an interesting story about the whole thing and shoot it awesomely, then that's kind of, those are kind of the videos that I want to concentrate on. And, photography still will be a massive part of me, and it will be a part of that storytelling process for sure. But I think I've kind of achieved with photography the level that I'm happy with right now. But the storytelling and the visual kind of like putting the whole thing together, it's not there yet for me. So that probably will take that will take a priority for the next 5 to 6 videos. Like, I've literally written out the plan for the next 7 videos, and I'm working on 2. They're literally in production. Yeah, I know.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited.
So I have 2 videos in production right now. So they are quite different from what I have been putting out recently. But I am happy with this change, and I'm just hoping that the audience that I have will be, happy to jump on board as well. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen. I'm definitely keen and excited to see what else you have to offer. Super excited for the videos that you have.
Bless.
But speaking about traveling, it's definitely something I noticed when I was going through your content on Instagram. You've been to a couple places. It's clear to see that you love to travel. Experience that. And of the places that you visited, which was the place that impacted you the most, moved you the most, and looking forward, which is the one place that you dream to visit?
Right. Okay. So, okay. I think every single time if I go on I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. Right. Yeah. So every time I had some sort of notion of what I'm trying to achieve in each destination, I had a better trip out of it, if it makes sense. And hear me out. I'm trying to make an example here. So, 2 years ago, I went to Tanzania to climb Kilimanjaro. And of course, that has been an amazing experience, I know. And we managed to get to the top, and it was horrible snowstorm on a day of summit. And even our porters were like, what the heck is going on? They were like, so not prepared for this. And they were like, I've been doing this job for the last 6 years. I don't remember anything like that happening, because I remember like our tour guides said, oh, first 6 hours you're going to be summiting in the dark, but then, the sun is going to get up, it's going to be beautiful sunrise, and you're going to get warm, and everything is going to be amazing. And we were like, okay, cool. So it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, it's still dark. 6 o'clock in the morning, it's still freaking dark. 7 o'clock in the morning, we're like, okay, where is the sunrise?
Where is the sun?
Yeah, we're like 10 hours in. You're like, what's up?
It's crazy.
So, long story short, we got to the top. When there is that kind of sign that says, welcome to the Uhuru Peak, you managed to get to the top of, the highest peak of Africa. Like, I couldn't see it. Like, that's how bad the visibility was. That's how bad the snowstorm was. Like, I have picture, literally, me standing in front of it, and you can't see anything behind it. Like, all those beautiful views that you are promised to see.
You didn't see it.
We couldn't see anything. Yeah, we literally could barely see that sign, which was like half in the snow. We had about 10 minutes before our guide said, like, you have to go down. Like, it's too cold. You have to go down. So that's the long story short.
That's crazy.
But it's been an amazing, experience, in a sense that, I really wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. And, my boyfriend was like, what are you doing? People run marathons. They do not climb mountains. And I was like, marathons are easy. Like, bear in mind, I never ran a marathon. I can't say anything about that.
That's funny.
But yeah, I was like, I'm just going to climb Kilimanjaro, and yeah, luckily, I think for me, everything went fine. But, I think being on top of that peak, seeing how strong is Mother Nature and how little we have on it, I was like, at that point, there was some points that I was like, I was genuinely scared. I was like, I'm too tired. It's just one of those moments where you sit down and you're like, Mom, come and pick me up, please.
Help me, somebody,
help me, please. Yeah, because it's not going up what is difficult, it's going down, because you just like, when you're going up, you have all this like adrenaline and you have all this expectations, and you're like, oh my God, will I reach it, will I not? But when you reached it and you know that you have to go all this way back again from where you came from,
it's a crazy thought.
That was difficult. That was the most difficult part, but I'm super glad that I did it. And again, having that purpose and like having that goal in my head definitely made it a very memorable experience. The second experience, or the second destination that I really love, was actually to do something to do with work. So me and my partner traveled to New York, and we were commissioned by very large international hotel group to create hyperlapses for them. I don't know if you've seen any hyperlapses on my Instagram, if you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I've seen a lot.
Yeah, I've seen a lot.
Yeah. So, funny story was that one sunny afternoon, decided to do a hyperlapse of St. Paul's Cathedral back in London, and I posted it on my Instagram. Didn't expect really anything, just kind of really enjoyed that thing. And the lady, we were then a part of a I don't know the name of the program, but we were basically like a content contributors in Shutterstock.
Okay.
So I'm sure you know Shutterstock.
I know Shutterstock.
So they have this kind of So they have this program where you basically like create a profile, put all your like things that you're really good at, put all your work, and then curators will have some kind of brand deals or brand briefs, and they will be looking for people through the database. And if they think you're cool, they will pull you out and they will be like, listen, can you do this and this and that? Can you like shoot this brief for this, or can you shoot that brief for this? So that's kind of the long story short, what this company is all about. Okay. And I learned from Chris Howe, so that was extremely helpful. Wow. So if you're not, maybe you can sign up with them as well, and see if they are looking for some sort of talent based in South Africa. Yeah. You never know. You really never know.
Thank you so much.
Long story short, Yeah, absolutely. So basically then the lady was working with this big brand, the curator at Shutterstock, and she was like, I really like your hyperlapses. Let me just pitch you to them. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, month has passed, 2 have passed, we completely forgotten about it. And then we receive an email saying, okay, so the global hotel chain says yes, and they want you to travel to Paris. They want you to travel to New York.
What?
They want you to travel to Ibiza. They want you to travel to Geneva, and they want you to create all those hyperlapses.
No
we
ways.
What? Like, seriously? So, and it was so early at our career that I was like, oh my God, we're nailing it. We're going to be awesome.
That's
from now on.
amazing.
But it was amazing. I mean, listen, we spent 8 days in New York, obviously creating hyperlapses from all those massive tourist destinations like Brooklyn Bridge and Oracle and, oh God, I don't remember, like all those amazing places, like the Highgate was awesome as well. So they were like, we want you to create those 8 different hyperlapses in 8 different locations. And since they didn't really know how to make them or what sort of the process goes, they were like, okay, you make them, they should be awesome, and that's it. So we kind of like had to scout ourselves the area, figure out what we're shooting, like all those kind of things. So as awesome as it was a lot of work. And I remember vividly we were shooting on the Brooklyn Bridge for like 8 hours because so many people were constantly passing by that we just had to wait out. Because, you know, hyperlapses are literally like you snap an image, make a step, snap an image, make a step, snap an image, make a step. So if in front of you have loads of people and you can't really step, then you have to wait for them to get out.
Yes.
And you have to be in that very secure position and make sure that your camera doesn't shake, you make sure that the focus point is still the same, all those kind of things, man. That is a lot of work. And I remember like it was really cold as well because we went just before the Halloween, and New York gets those really icy cold winds, man, and especially when you're on the bridge. So yeah, we figured out a couple of ramen shops next to the bridge where we'd just kind of go like warm up and get out and shoot again. But honestly, like we would walk 20,000 steps every day. Like every morning we would shoot, and every evening
That's a lot.
we'd scout the next area. But you know, but it's like I think it's one of those times when you're truly alive. You're like, oh my God, I'm creating this amazing content. I've been actually paid for once to do that. And I'm in New York out of all of the places. Like, honestly, it happened to us 3 years ago. And to this point, it's one of my favorite moments as a content creator. And I'm just very thankful for the Shutterstock and for the lady who found us. Actually, really good friend. She's from Toronto. That she pitched us. And it worked really well for us. It worked really well for the hotel chain. And they were very happy with the whole work. And we actually ended up being the highest gross content creators, earners of that year because of such a massive project. Which we didn't expect was going to be the case. But she was sending us like those, videos of whenever we were presenting a hyperlapse, the whole office was going like, whoa, we're like, really? Because we were like, it's so unstabilized. It's like, it could have been so much better. We could have done this, we could have done that, the whole kind of like self-doubt thing kicks in at some point. But honestly, the best experience ever. And I really want to come back to New York because we had those amazing, memories from that. Like this super tired evening, you're sitting in the pub, drinking pints, and just like, you're so knackered, you're so ready to go to bed. But you feel so content. It's not even funny how happy you feel at that point. I'm sure it has happened to you as well when you have like amazing photo shoot and you're just sitting there, you're like, I nailed it.
Every time.
So good.
Like every time I have a photo shoot,
amazing.
I'm like, what the heck? What was that me? And it feels so good. I understand. I can definitely. And
these are the moments that keep you pushing. That keep you pushing when the days are dark.
It definitely is like a pillar you can lean on.
100%. And then obviously the place that I would like to come to, I would love to go back to Japan and experience the northern part of Japan. My boyfriend is a big fan of anime and he hasn't been to Japan. So I would just love to see his reaction to all those weird things the Japanese people do. Well, they're weird for us, they're not weird for them. And funnily enough, I really would like to come to South Africa at some point as well.
Really?
It's just such a beautiful place.
Yes, please.
Yeah, the nature is amazing, and I just keep seeing so many of my friends going there and saying like, "Oh, it's awesome," and I'm like, "Damn, I should come as well."
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely amazing. South Africa's
Potentially at some
really
point
cool.
when things are gonna, open up again.
When things open up again, for sure. No, that's absolutely.
Mm.
But Polly, thank you so much again for taking time out of your schedule to be here. I only have one question left for you, and that's how you are able to balance life, your private life, and the content creation. Giving content creation the time that it needs, and life things the time that it needs as well.
It's $1 million question, isn't it?
Yes, it is. No one's been able to give me an answer, like literally. No.
Well, I'm lucky, as I said, that I have my partner who is also a freelancer. So in a sense, he really understands the kind of, intricacies that the freelancing life brings with it. But to be honest, lately that has been extremely helpful is two things. And one of them is having a solid morning routine. I know it sounds a bit corny and wishy-washy. But, for me, having pretty much exactly the same thing every morning has been so good, Like, I don't do many things. I wake up, I drink my water, I do my dancing or Zumba exercise for half an hour, I do my stretching for 15 minutes, I take a shower, and I'm ready for breakfast. But that kind of, my head, like, I know that it's 9:30 and I'm ready to, tackle the day. That's already setting me up
tackle
for kind
the
of
day,
like, you can do it no matter what has happened yesterday. You know what, today is a good day. You have already achieved so many things. Now you're ready, now you're ready to tackle anything that comes your way, and it has been so good. Like, honestly, I'm just like, why didn't I do that sooner? And then obviously the second thing is that I'm trying to, of course we can spend as much time in front of the screens as humanly possible. I still have so many catalogs of pictures that I haven't even gone through, and it has been 6 months. But, come 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'm out. And what it means usually, I am going out for a walk. So me and my partner, we kind of make a small challenge out of the walk, which is basically try to make 10K steps when we get out. And no matter how you feel, no matter what's the weather, get out, get that walk in, and you always feel so much better afterwards. And I know it sounds a bit like, really? Maybe somebody was expecting.
Only?
Maybe people were expecting some sort of magic key solution. I'm sorry, I don't have it. But these two things, honestly, have been so helpful. And majority of the ideas that end up being videos later on in YouTube in my channel, like on my channel, I actually have been discussed or discovered when we were walking. So I always think that walking is one of the best tools to get your ideas, to clear your head, and kind of think, man. It has, like, I can never sit down and write things on a piece of paper. Like, sorry, not write things on a piece of paper, but like, I think what my ideas can be. Like, I always have to move. And for me, like, being outside is just, it's just so helpful to really kind of get a clear picture of what the next video is going to be about. So, yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I'm definitely getting a sense of discipline, when you're saying that whether I'm finished with what I'm doing or not, but when it's 6 o'clock, I'm going out and I'm taking my walk and I need to get my 10,000 steps in, So it's an aspect of discipline and, saying that you're going to do something and actually doing it. It's one thing to sort of make a plan and set a routine and just have it set out and not actually fall through with it and be lazy with it, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I'm definitely getting an aspect of being very disciplined, holding on to what you said you're going to do, doing it to the best of your ability. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a very good answer, actually.
Well, I think discipline is the biggest. When we spoke about the kind of things that you could have been better at, and patience, of course, is one of them. I think discipline is definitely one of those ones. Because, let's be honest, as a content creator, so many things are in a sense, out of your hands. You have created content, you posted it out there, but how people are going to react to it, what sort of brand deals you're going to get out of it,
you can't control that.
So the only thing you can control is what you actually can control, and sometimes those little things help you get that control and get you that balance, because otherwise it's tough, man. And let's be honest, I've my discipline comes out of the laziness, because I've tried the lazy route. It didn't work out. Take it from me. Don't do it. So I tried to get some sort of discipline, because that will be just easier. And that's one of those things. Discipline, people.
Thank you so much. Once again, that's the end. That's all I had in terms of the question.
Ooh, pass the challenge. Okay.
No, I've learned so much, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people are going to learn so much from what you've had to share and your experiences as well. And I, again, appreciate you taking time to sit and chat. And hopefully, when you come to South Africa, we can meet and make hyperlapses together. That would be cool.
I know. Yeah. Get your statue mode on, mate. You'll be standing in one spot for 5 hours.
For 8 hours.
That would be fun.
That would be fun for sure. Thank you so much, Polly. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Luca, for reaching out. Honestly, it has been amazing. And, let's keep in touch. It will be awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.